right, guys, today we are back in the trenches with your TC Laura. Today we have a crackhead seller, a wholesaler, another wholesaler, and a buyer, and a 1031 exchange, and somehow you managed to wrap all that up and turn it into something. So tell me how this deal started.
Started as a daisy chain.
So we knew going in that it was a
Yes.
daisy chain. Okay,
Yes.
so our client, was he a regular client, a one-off client?
He was a return one-off.
Okay, so that's a program where you can come to us and instead of being on, like our long-term kind of VIP concierge program, we'll do just one deal at a time for you. So he had done one of those before and it went
Yes.
well, so he came back again.
Yes.
Cool. So he uploads the file, then what?
So we went from there.
Yeah.
The seller was ready to sell. She was very anxious.
Okay.
He assigned it to another investor
Okay.
who in turn found an end buyer.
So our client knew, he knew at least in this
Yes.
case that the person was not the buyer, it was a wholesaler.
Correct.
Because that happens a lot. When I was wholesaling, Matthew would come and say, hey, I want to buy your deal. And he put it under contract, but really he's a wholesaler. And then he's trying to sell. So that causes a lot of confusion and muckety-muckness. But at least in this case, the guy knew, which was
Yes,
fine.
he
Okay.
did. So he had an end buyer who was
Yeah.
taking their time, trying to get it in a 1031.
Right. So a 1031 exchange
Yes.
is somebody is buying this property with funds from another property. And in a 1031 exchange, that's just an IRS regulation, a government regulation that says you don't have to pay any taxes on the first property he sold as long as he moves it all into another property.
Correct.
Cool. So, so what were some of the challenges here?
So the challenges were the buyer was taking entirely too long.
Yeah.
The seller was very anxious to get her money.
Why? What did we find out about the seller?
We found out about the seller that she did sell it for
She
for
for some
uses.
crack?
Yeah, she did.
So not just joking, like
Yeah,
real.
she really did.
Oh,
Which is sad, but
Yeah,
the
it
title
is.
company really stepped in and she was just went above and beyond, which shows our relationships with title companies
Yeah.
really matter.
yeah. So we got a seller who's a little jittery.
Yes.
The buyer who, and 1031s are not fast. You've got to set up all of the things. There are definitely some
Yes.
process problems. But originally, did our client want to just do it all as one transaction, or what was that was their thought, right?
Assignment, yes.
So a daisy chain assignment means that just on the closing disclosure or the HUD, one wholesaler would have their fee, then another wholesaler.
Yep.
But in this case, because of the type of transaction, that wasn't possible.
Correct. So
Okay.
title and I were both talking it out. And she's like, your seller's selling for 5,000, your end buyer's buying for 20.
Yeah.
Their lender is not, it's not going to go for it.
Yeah.
So we both talked about it and we're like, we better off to double close.
Yeah. Was it the lender that wouldn't go for it, or the trust admin? The
Both.
the 1031.
Both.
Okay.
So she said we double close and that way we can avoid what's on the HUD,
Yeah.
settlement statements, and go from there. So
Okay.
we started as a double close and ended up as a triple close.
So it got closed from the seller to our client to the next wholesaler.
Correct.
Oh my goodness! And then that wholesaler to the
Correct.
last person. That seems like a lot of steps.
It was.
Yeah. So here's something that investors will think a lot. Oh, it's just a cash deal, right? It's going to be easy. I don't need somebody to help me with it. What would you think? What would you say when you hear that?
They were thankful that I was there to step
Yeah.
in and help.
Yeah. How many hours do you think you put in on this deal?
From start to finish. I had this file for maybe 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
For a $20,000 deal.
Yeah.
I will tell you, if it was me, I probably would have cut it loose.
Yeah.
Just because I'd have just gone on to the next deal by that point. So did anybody make any money? It doesn't sound like it was a big deal.
Both investors made about 7,000 each.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually, even with the double close, probably not much less than they thought they were going to get before.
Right.
Nice. Did they have to use transactional funding or anything? Or how-
Nope. They used cash.
Oh, they just had cash
Yep.
because it was such a small deal.
It was.
Nice. And the seller ultimately got what they wanted. They wanted $5,000. They got $5,000.
Yes, she did.
And seller still good.
Well,
heard
the
from her?
title company stepped in and actually closed her on a Saturday, so she could go ahead and fund her and got her funds, and
Because she wanted
that
her
was
money
it.
right away.
Yep.
We've had a case like that. We did one in Detroit years ago with Nationwide Property Liquidators, and the seller was like MIA. We couldn't find him. Somebody I knew had family up there, so we literally like phoned a friend to go and knock on the door and get the guy to go to closing. Unfortunately, like 2 days after, when the new buyer went to the house to take it over, the seller was there,
Oh no.
drugs.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate to happen sometimes. Not something that we can control, but it's the unfortunate side of this business sometimes. But so that's pretty crazy. In 2 months to work on that.
Yeah.
So nobody would have gotten anything if it wasn't
Nope.
for you.
No. And I know the second investor
Yeah.
where I stepped in, I linked the two of them together. We were in a three-way phone call together. And I was talking to both of them. I said, look, you're better off just double closing this. I said, because title company cannot do blind HUD. They have to disclose
You
everything.
can't do three blind HUDs. A
We
paper only
can't.
has two sides,
Yeah,
right?
we can't. And they're like, oh, we would have never thought to double close this. Thank you for stepping in and really
Yeah.
taking charge of that one and helping us to make sure we can get it across the finish line.
Yeah, because there are just times where, we have state regulations and underwriter regulations, but sometimes the 1031 administrator or the 401k guy or the loan officer hard money, like they have criteria.
Correct.
And they just won't always, let it be too big of an assignment fee or whatever it is. So luckily, we have resources for our clients where we can step in and help them get their deals double closed and funded, and it's good. Awesome. It's an exciting deal. I bet you were happy to have that one closed.
I was. And I was made me happier that both investors were extremely happy.
Yeah. Well, it's kudos to you and for the team for the great title relationships that we have all across the
Absolutely.
country. And that's, one thing I don't know that people recognize how much your transaction coordinator really steps in to, take these deals and get them over the finish line. And it's that experience you have after doing hundreds of files now, being able to look at it and go, oh, this is a problem. I can see this is a problem. Let me figure out a way to sort of navigate this and get through it. Nice. That's awesome. Any other exciting files lately?
Several.
Okay. Any you want to tell us about? Maybe give us a teaser before the next episode.
One that's not finished yet.
You can talk about that. It's just we just know that it's not finished. But what kind of wackiness are you dealing
So my seller's in prison.
Love prison.
His daughter has a power of attorney that was illegal.
Why was it illegal? How do we know?
She had her friend notarize it with no witnesses, and so now we're having to bypass her to go straight to him to the prison to finish it out.
I want to jump off on that and just take a little sidebar there. How often does that happen? We know that title companies don't love powers of attorney.
Correct.
Because it looks like fraud, right?
Yeah.
They want to know, why is person, whoever it is, why are they not showing up? Why are you showing up
Correct.
in my space? So, but how often do you and the teams come across that where, there's fraud or somebody pretending to be somebody else?
This is the first time I've had it happen, but the notary told on herself.
Oh,
She
really?
admitted to the fraud.
Oh.
So that's what made it.
Did anybody report her?
Title company's taking care of it.
So she's probably not going to be a notary anymore.
Correct. But the title company stepped in and said that they would honor her power of attorney. However, her father had to sign over the deeds, and the check would go into his name, not the daughter's name. So we were kind of bypassing her to, appease her that she could sign some closing
They didn't
settlement
do anything, but
statements.
She signed something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the check was going to him, and he had to sign the physical deed.
Right. Because even though she had the power of attorney, the power to act on his behalf, it still was his money.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So did she think it was going to go to her?
Correct. Correct.
Yeah. Because I saw on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's not how it works.
originally, title sent the deed to her friend that was a notary, who she told me that was the only person that was on the visitation list that could get in to see her father in prison. And no witnesses could sign. It was a little
We know
sketchy.
that's not true because we've done prison deals.
It was
many
a little
times.
sketchy, so
Yeah.
we kind of went with it to see what would happen.
Uh-huh.
The documents came back, and title questioned it, and one little question with the notary, and the notary
folded.
caved. She folded. She admitted to the
She's
fraud.
not going to have a good life of crime.
Yep.
She gave
Yep.
up too easy.
She did. So come to find, title says we're not doing it.
Yeah. We're
So-
throwing all this away.
Title sent their own notary to the prison with the deeds to the father, and he
Yeah.
knew nothing about the sale.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know from talking to Abby, she's done a bunch of prison deals before
Yeah.
where because she, knew that she had to get to the person in prison. And I think what she had said is she can call the warden or speak to
Yep.
somebody there, and then the librarian, and then it's fairly common
It
to
is.
get these kinds of things done.
It is. So now we've pivoted,
Mm-hmm.
and the owner of the property, who is in prison, he knows now he's willing to sell. So we're going directly to him
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to close, and the funds will go to him.
Nice. So he's got cigarette money.
Yep. He's set for life.
How is he in prison for life?
He
or-
is.
Oh,
He is.
that's too bad.
It
Do
is.
you know what he did? Have you looked it up?
I did look it up.
Okay, what did
I
he
only
do?
looked it up because I had to find him where he
Yeah.
was. Am I allowed to say?
I think so. We're not saying anybody's names. Yeah.
Okay. He sold drugs to a person, and it killed him.
Oh,
Yeah.
it wasn't the person in Detroit, was it?
No, it wasn't. No.
That's not. We shouldn't joke about that. That's terrible. But that's tough. Well, at least I mean, the property's getting sold. Nobody, the
Right.
neighbors will be happy. Somebody's going to come in there.
Right.
They're going to fix it up.
Well, it's not just one property; it's two.
Oh, really?
There's two properties.
Okay. So he was like
Get
a
them
landlord.
both taken care of. Yep.
Nice. Wow. Well, those are good stories. Prison, you know what I always say about prison? I like them because we know where to find the person.
Correct.
The state keeps very good records of where they're
Correct.
at. All right, cool. Well, those are good stories.
Yeah.
Any other ones before we let you go?
Oh, there's so many.
There's so many.
It just
Well, why don't you save them up and we'll do them on the next one.
absolutely.
Awesome. Guys, there we are. That is another episode of In the Trenches with Your TC. We have crackheads. We have multiple buyers. We have daisy chains, 1031 exchanges. We have people in prison, bad notaries. Oh my gosh. Heirs trying to steal money. This is why you need a TC in your life, guys. This is David. We're in the trenches with your TC, and we'll see you at the closing table.